We were just talking about Seth's remarkable ability to follow the teachings of his master, which were to tell him things that normal, ordinary people might question. But he had the wherewithal, the dedication, and the tenacity to follow the teachings that are into the spiritual realm. And as we were saying, Seth, I mean, when somebody says, go talk to the trees, go listen to the rocks, go lay on the ground and hear what the earth is saying, I mean, you got to admit that sometimes people who are uninitiated might think, I don't know if I could do that. How would you encourage people to, if listening to the show, they want to follow your example? Of course, they should contact you because you teach them, you are a coach, and I would highly recommend they do. But listening to the show today, any, any sort of like, let's get over that doubt hump, so to speak.
Yeah, I have learned that between the physical realm and the spiritual realms, there are thresholds. And a threshold could be almost, I kind of almost look at it like uh, something that is a teaching sphere. And in the threshold is where we're most uncomfortable. And when they say you have a breakthrough, it's because you were in a threshold. You're in between your old way of thinking or old way of being and then to a new potentiality. But between those two realms is a threshold area. So we have to learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable before we have our breakthrough. And what I learned over these past 2 decades is that if you can be if you can surrender to that stillness, if you can surrender to being uncomfortable and ask the sacred questions, what am I to learn here? How can I heal this? You will eventually break through that threshold, but don't try to rush it because what's different now, at least in spiritual teachings, is that we're rushing for the breakthrough, but without that threshold between your old thinking and your old paradigm and your new one, it is a rites of passage. So, what we're losing as a society is those sacred rites of passage. And without them, there's a difference of learning it from a book and experiencing it. That rites of passage changes your cellular, it changes your cells, it changes your DNA, it changes your whole entire being because you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable and you have to learn the lessons internally through experience. So I think that the ancient ways of rites of passage are the healthiest, most grounded ways in our spiritual and physical evolution.
They never go away, do they? They're always there.
We have them. I think we have a rites of passage every 7 years, 8 years, 9 years. We have rites of passage in partnerships, in friendships, in our spiritual journey, in our businesses. And I think if we could embrace them and surrender to them and say, "Thank you for this threshold. Thank you for these lessons." It's an experience you can't teach, but it can be felt by others.
Well, as again, your teacher is being very wise. Go listen to the tree. In other words, calm down,
Calm
be
down.
patient. I heard you
Yes.
say it once or twice. My teacher said the same thing to me. Patience. In the world we live in, the monkey mind, the random access, and it's even being, I guess, uh, compacted and we're distracted with social media, internet, politics, whatever. The world goes
Yes.
through these cycles as well. Whatever's going to happen to the world, this time of chaos will pass. But for people who are seeking now, it doesn't matter your station in life, I suspect, you had to take that step and go to the threshold as you've used. And I find people sometimes are a little apprehensive about taking that next step, leaving the old, familiar, terrible, ugly ways, which they know about, and taking that step into the unknown.
Yeah. And
So, like,
that's I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, what was it like for you that first time? You told us a little bit already. But how would
I
you
will
encourage
be
people would be a better question.
yeah, and this is what my book is about. I wanted people to know to take that first step and then the next step and say there's people that have come before you and we made it to the other side. Now, you know, it might seem like a death and there will be like many deaths to your ideals. There will be many deaths to who you think you are. But on the other side is magic. So if you're afraid to take your next step in whatever it might be, a partnership, your spiritual journey, on the other side and through those trees is magic. It's going to be experiences you would have never had sitting at home being comfortable where you are. I promise you there's magic. I promise you there's mountains to climb and rivers to cross, physically and metaphorically, but that's what's fun about life. You can always come back and be in your home, but the experiences of life, the thing that might be stopping you, um, is going to keep you from your personal magic and the magic of the universe and the magic of this beautiful planet that we have. So I'd say walk towards the magic.
Yeah. Well, I think anybody gets to that point, first of all, is dissatisfied with their life so far. They're not happy.
Yes.
I've got the car, I've got the house, I've taken the trips, I got the clothes, I got this, I have that, but I'm not happy. Something's missing in my heart. And you refer to this as a journey of awakening, in the experiences you've had, but also one from within. So
Mhm.
as people take that step and say, okay, uh, I try to teach it in a little bit different way. So all of your life, you come to some point and you say, you haven't done that, but you're about to take the next step from grade school to high school, from
Yes.
a bicycle to a motorcycle, or from
Yes.
there is always that I've never done this before. But why is it in the world we're not afraid to take those steps? Apprehensive, nervous, whatever, but sort of excited. But I get from what you're saying, and maybe you can elaborate on it, is that people have this view of the real world through the veil, as you put it. How can you, or should you, convince people that's the real truth? When you're talking about mountains and streams and fish and grass, and all of a sudden I'm feeling like I want to go there.
Yeah. Let me ground this. Let me make it more real. Because I followed my heart and I, like, left my industry. You could be a finance person or a garbage person, a garbage man, or whatever it might be. But because I listened to my heart and I listened to my higher calling, my spirit, and I took time to take these journeys. Sometimes the journey was just a weekend. Sometimes it was 6 months. I'm a
Hmm.
person that has left society for 3 years building my off-grid cabin. I'm really that person. I left society for 3 years. Here's
Wow.
here's the here's the truth. By going following my spiritual guide, doing the things that I've done, I I'm not saying it's magic just in some fairy tale fantasy way. I had that type of experience, but what I realized is that I found other seekers. I found new friends that gave me, real life applications for self-healing and herbs and things like that. I found other businessmen and women who are also seekers, who have multi-million dollar companies, but they're not in the old paradigm of toxicity. They're in the new holistic paradigm of, we can still make millions. I can show you how to make money, and my company has a healthy culture. People like working around each other. That's what going through the veils and following our vision actually does. We come out of the somewhat toxic society and thinking it needs to be this way in business and you have to work in a cubicle. No, I've met multimillionaires who have companies that have indoor outdoor facilities. They take very good care of their employees. But we also talk about, self-healing. We talk about different ways to live sustainably with the earth. And so it does have real world applications to follow your heart. There is another world of people that are also elevating their lives and doing the best that they can in their industries to make them sustainable and fun to work at. So it has real world applications, but you got to go seek it, because the world that's making you miserable is the old world, even though it's on the same planet. They're two different timelines consciously. There are people that are waking up consciously and want better, and they're affecting the industries where they are, and you're going to get to interact with them. And so it does have real world applications.
Well, makes perfect sense. I mean, there are limits to the physical world, period. The spiritual world is unlimited in as much as well, it's the universe.
Yes.
And getting in contact with that is a single step. You're on your own path. But We're all individually on our own paths, but we're all together on these paths going the same direction. I thought it was very appropriate for you to say, "Hey, I met new friends, and there are people just like me, or people who are aware, people are seeking." Naturally, because if it's the truth, there are going to be other seekers who are finding their inner way, finding the truth, as you recount in your book, follow your vision, live your truth. There's going to be naturally other people at that higher level of consciousness. And I guess they're a whole lot better because like nicer, fuller people, not nicey goody goodies, but people who are sincere and want to love and take care of each other, their employees as well as the world. So the promise of, or the inducement is, if you're not happy where you are today, call up Seth and say, "Hey, I want to be, I want you to coach me. I want you to help me. I need that follow the tree, listen to the tree's advice. I want some more of that." And as we get there, we're going to find other people. And that's going to do one thing that maybe you agree. It's going to consolidate the truth that we know, but it's going to give us proof of what we feel and see and seek. How would you think about that? What would you think about that?
I think when you work on yourself and you are living and you're being honest with yourself, if you're
Mm.
living that, you magnetize more of the truth, more of your personal truth. And it's not about isolating yourself into a new bubble, but you can go and meet other people that are conscious. There might be political or religious differences, but you're going to say, you know what? Let me learn from you, as opposed to trying to be right. I can't be around people that are divisive and trying to be right all the time. I'd rather learn from you than try to prove my point. But that's the higher consciousness that we're moving to. We can have our differences and then we can split a bowl of watermelon together because we realize this life is fleeting. We only get one shot here. Let's not argue over these petty things that might be actually important, but in this moment that we're here, let's enjoy our humanity together and focus on our similarities. That's a whole different type of consciousness paradigm to the divisive world society that's kind of always been there as an overlay. Now, one of the biggest things that I've learned is that there is an overlay over this organic planet. Organically, naturally, we're supposed to share, even though we have differences. But there are many things that want to keep us divided as a humanity. Because we would come together, we would have a completely sustainable planet. The economy, we wouldn't really need the economy in the way that we do. And so there are things that are working against humanity as a whole, and we have to individually kind of fight against them to find our original selves, the organic timelines. And there is a fight against the timelines, and there is spiritual war happening in the sense of where you're putting your energy into social media, the internet, video games, or whatever people might have that takes them away from their inner world. And I think your audience probably already knows that, but it's very real. And people need to understand that, yeah, you are working towards something. You're working to find your original self, reawakening to your original self.
Well said. I mean, that's exactly the point. We live in a world of duality. We have good, we have not so good. We have light, and then we have dark. And I think the whole idea, when people say to me, "Douglas, why do bad things happen to good people? Douglas, I'm
Mm.
trying so hard to be a good person. Douglas, I'm trying to develop my soul, but I'm having all this, well, challenges is the word. But what you just said is the fact that you acknowledge the differences and learn how to live with them is the spiritual journey.
Hmm.
I mean, the world is if you look at the world as we do from let's say an arm's length distance, wow, we have tornadoes, earthquakes, volcanoes. The world's a pretty violent place. And we go, okay, but we're living here. I look out the window, the grass is green, the trees are fine, it's sunny outside. I'm okay. You
Yeah,
know?
we have gravity. We're not floating away into the
Yeah.
atmosphere. There's divine orchestration. There's divine orchestration, and what I say is that the earth is pure. Humans are actually pure. It's society and programming that changes us. because society is we need hierarchies in a way. If women are involved, I don't know, that's my personal belief. If women are co-leading it, I think that they would help us stop going into world wars and things like this, global wars. But um, it it really comes back to finding your inner truth, following that inner truth, and then eventually you will meet others that are on a similar path. And we create our own bubbles, our own communities. We magnetize them. And then when people go looking for us, they go looking for breath work, they go looking for yoga, meditation retreats, or even business that is beneficial to the in service in the betterment of all. Then we kind of create these little bubbles that other people can find. We're like little lighthouses, is how I've looked at it. And I feel that different generations are keepers of light for their generations. We're kind of maintaining lighthouses so people don't get lost in society. They don't get lost in the division. And unfortunately, it seems like it's been that way for thousands of years. Even when Yeshua and Magdalene were here, it seems as though they were light bearers of their time to make sure people were staying awake. It seems like a passing of the flame.
Well, Joshua found the way. He was the first one. He found our salvation so the rest of us can say, oh, wait a minute, there's a fellow over there. He's waving at us. That's the way to salvation. Let's go follow him. So, well said. Listen, before we get any further, your book is called Follow Your Vision, Live Your Truth. An appropriate title, I suspect, from what you've been telling us today on the show. So, I am Seth Stewart, STEWART.com. We'll be right back after this short break.